Hey there, and thank you so much for being with us on this Wednesday, September 10th. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and welcome to Weather Out West. If you haven't joined us before, this is an hour-long show where we tell you what's the latest on what's expected weather-wise across the western United States, and you'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona. But today, we're going to kick things off in Boise, where thunderstorms are expected to impact the region over the next couple of days, and some of those storms could be on the strong side and produce some very heavy rain. Here's Hector Mendoza with the details.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza, and I'm forecasting here in Boise, Idaho, and we have an active day ahead of us as we have first alert weather conditions here for our Wednesday. We will continue with hit or miss showers and thunderstorms that continue through the rest of this week, but for today, the things that we're keeping an eye on is some heavy winds that come along with the storms and a chance for some heavy rain that could be possible at times. Now, the highest precipitation totals we're expecting, the locations are going to be eastern Oregon and in places in the Idaho mountains here for today. So as we look at our satellite and radar picture, this is from early on this morning. We've seen that some of those lightning strikes and some of those showers have made their way through southwest Idaho, whether it's the mountains here in the central mountains near Sun Valley and through Cascade. And lots of activity there in through Boise, and that's what we're going to continue to see as we zoom on in closer there early on this morning around 8 or 9 o'clock, where we've seen that just kind of make its way through. Very little precipitation with some of these storms, but we have seen that early on this morning, and that looks to continue into at least the late morning. And then we're going to see that really pick up and ramp back up towards this afternoon as this system here off Northern California is going to continue to make its way through. And that's where we're anticipating more of that activity today, tomorrow, and into Friday. So as we look at our upper level pattern, which we've seen here the past couple of days, is we're going to see that this starts to move here all the way through and through today and into tomorrow. Friday, we'll continue to see this impact some of our weather conditions, but it's going to continue to make its way on out through Saturday, seeing some drying conditions, and then on into Sunday and Monday of next week, we see another chance of some showers return. But we are going to pay attention to the system that we're going to see impact us today and into tomorrow. So let's take a look at this futurecast. This is around 1:20 in the afternoon. We're going to fast forward here through today and heading into the afternoon, and that's when you see around 5, 6 o'clock, we're going to start to see some of that activity really start to pick up there into the west central mountains. Some thunderstorm chances roll along there and through the Owyhees again through the afternoon, and it's not until later, 7 to 8 o'clock, as at least that's what it looks like here in this particular model, that we start to see that some of those storms start to make their way through the Treasure Valley, and that looks to last at least into midnight. So we can see a lot of that activity continues into the overnight hours here through the Boise area and other spots. Some of the stronger storm looks likely to stay west of Boise in areas there through Canyon County and through Ontario, and that's what we're anticipating there on into today. Then we'll see those chances continue there into Thursday afternoon for the mountains and into the Magic Valley as well. So heading into Thursday, that's when we're anticipating a little bit more of that to make it to the Magic Valley, as today places like Jerome and Twin Falls aren't likely to see a lot of that precipitation that we're going to be seeing in the Treasure Valley and in areas up in the mountains and places further west there of the Magic Valley. But as we look at the 7-day forecast here in the mountains, we'll continue to see those thunderstorm chances all the way through Friday. See some cloudier conditions and a bit of a break there on Saturday with temperatures back up into the low 70s. And then we're going to continue that way all the way through Wednesday and seeing that cloud cover also continue there into next week. Now, as we look at the 7-day forecast here for Twin Falls, it's not until Thursday and Friday that we see some of the higher chances there. We'll continue to see a little bit of a break there as we get on into the weekend, and then continue those shower chances with low 70s there in through Twin Falls as we head on into Monday and Tuesday of next week. But again, we do see red here on this 7-day forecast as we have some impacts later on into today for our Wednesday. We'll continue to see that there through the rest of this afternoon and late Wednesday here into today. Those hit or miss showers, they'll continue there with those thunderstorm chances as well for Thursday and Friday. Temperatures will dip down into those mid to upper 70s there as we head on towards the end of the week. And then we're going to start to see those temperatures climb up as we do see some ridging, start to see a little bit more of those heating temperatures there for Saturday and Sunday. And then we drop down to those upper 70s with some more shower chances coming along for the beginning of next week.
Coming up after a quick break, we're going to stay in the Northwest and bring you your Spokane forecast before heading to Colorado and Arizona to see how this low pressure system is also affecting them. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Wednesday. It's time to head on over to Spokane, Washington, where the air quality is expected to slowly improve for portions of the state, and rain chances have returned to the forecast. Here's Thomas Patrick with much more.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. A bit of a hazy morning in eastern Washington and North Idaho, as you see Silver Mountain behind me here. But we are trending a bit drier forecast-wise. After having a bout of some scattered showers and thunderstorms from Tuesday morning, well, we're in a completely different environment, it seems, today. Our rain chances are still there, but they're just a lot lower as we look at the second half of this week. It's the trend that has gotten a bit drier. We're going to jump into those trends, meaning how the forecast updates day after day, trends us into a certain direction. In this case, it might be a bit drier. The airport actually missed out on any of those showers and storms, so as always, it is scattered, so actually didn't technically add anything on the month of September's rainfall totals, and our high temperatures are going to stay in the 80s today, which is still warmer than average for the month. Current satellite and radar, not a whole lot going on. Obviously no rain or storms near the Spokane area this morning. A little bit of moisture is still trickling over southern Washington, but not disturbing too many areas. But because the moisture is there, I did have to just keep the chances at least above 0% today, but I didn't want to go any better than 5%, meaning that it is very, very likely Spokane is dry for today. There might just be one or two spots, mainly in our southern areas, that have a slightly increased chance for some rainfall. Probably more later on for tonight. Now, Thursday and Friday, it's still 20 or 30%, but even those numbers are lower as of today's forecast compared to earlier iterations, and that's the trend. The Thursday forecast went from a 50% chance of rain to 40 to now 30. And if we trend in that direction, that means more and more of the area is likely just going to stay dry ultimately here. So on our latest future tracker computer model simulation, it's more central Idaho that has this chance for rain before midnight, hence the 5% chance of rain, more for our southern areas. But I think for Spokane, we're a bit closer to 0%. Now after midnight, maybe a chance for some showers in the morning and a pop-up shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon. Again, the North Idaho mountains will get another round of some thunderstorms that looking a bit more likely in that region, but it didn't cover the entirety of the inland Northwest. So that's why I'm thinking 30% seems pretty fair, but it still means 70% of the area probably just ends up dry overall. Now, I mentioned central Idaho a couple times. Idaho County specifically was just placed under a flood watch. That would be for burn scar flooding. That would be landslides or debris flows off of the burn scarred areas in the high terrain would be more susceptible to those thunderstorm impacts than anything else would be. But a small note there for sure. Now, temperature-wise, we are trending upwards. It does go hand in hand. Since the rain chances got reduced a little bit, the likelihood of more sunshine and warmer weather increased at the same margin. So 84, the high temperature today in Spokane, honestly looking like a great dry afternoon to be out at the fair. Like I said, chance of showers almost minuscule, especially before midnight. But it would be the temperatures staying in the 80s is the trend that we are heading towards. Still air quality alerts in northeastern Washington. They have been reduced in terms of scale, but it is hazy outside today. No drops in air quality, though, in Spokane. Looking at the 7-day forecast, there are those rain chances for Thursday and Friday. They're pretty small overall, again, 20-30%. I mean, some areas will get hit with rain. Others will be A-okay and still just dry the rest of the way. Like I said, the temperature has trended up a little bit. Low to mid-80s now all 7 days. No longer did I see any high temperatures dip into the 70s.
Next up on our trip out west, we're headed to Phoenix, Arizona, and it's going to be gusty for northern Arizona today. And while temperatures are expected to be a little above average, that's not going to be the case for much longer. Ginger Jeffries has those details, plus when rain may return to the desert.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west across the great state of Arizona. Big wind event today is really going to start bringing down the numbers. Now, we won't necessarily feel it today, but in the next coming days and into the weekend, our daytime highs are going to fall not just below the normal range, but I'm looking for double-digit daytime highs for the weekend. So what is the numbers shaping up to say today? We've got 105 in Phoenix, about 102 in Tucson, 87 today in Payson, 101 in Havasu, 100 in Quartzsite, 101 in Yuma. But notice higher elevations, including Gila Bend, looking for some stronger winds. Now, as far as the wind speed, we are looking for winds out of the southwest, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. That's your sustained wind speed. Gust potential starts at 45 miles an hour, but we could be topping 50 miles an hour. The prime concern between 10 to 7 today. Now, winds are always strongest as the sun comes up and especially as the sun goes down. So between about 5 to 7, that's when I'm really looking for those stronger wind speeds that could, again, get up to about 50 miles an hour. Let me put this map in motion so you can see what I'm talking about. By, about 12:30 today, we're already seeing sustained winds upwards of 20 miles an hour here in the metro. Our winds should stay under 15 miles an hour, I'd say, until later in the day. And remember that high wind advisory is not in effect for Phoenix. It's just the higher elevation. So again, as we put this closer to sundown by 6:30, we're going to see the most expansive wind event. That means winds could get up to 30 miles an hour in the Grand Canyon. For Phoenix, we're talking about closing in on 20 miles an hour, but we don't have this wind advisory simply because we don't meet the criteria. The sustained winds are not going to be high enough for long enough to get the attention of the National Weather Service. Nonetheless, though, I want to have it on your radar because the after impact from the wind means cooler temperatures across the board. So this evening, your winds will be tapering off. I don't expect to see that high wind advisory in place again tomorrow. Instead, we're going to start replacing it with a little bit of monsoon moisture that's going to start picking up. Now, this is really going to be focused on the Rim and White Mountains down into southeast Arizona. But notice it's just a 1 on the monsoon meter. So while these little storms pepper up, they don't look to be very expansive, and outflow just is not a concern. I mean, take a look at this futurecast. By about 2:30 this afternoon, you're seeing how small and isolated these are. But again, they are powerful, so they could bring in some localized flooding for the higher elevations, especially closer to the evening hours today, closer to Tucson. Now, this has my attention. We've got some tropical energy that in the next 7 days could form into a hurricane. This is poised just off the coast of Mexico. Anytime we see development like this, that's going to feed moisture into our monsoonal flow. So this 6 to 10 day outlook shows our temperatures are going to stay the course for near normal, but then as we transfer over into the precip value, oh, this is looking healthy. We've got about a 40 to 50% chance at better than normal precip for our areas in the next 6 to 10 days. So look for that monsoon flow to really start ramping up once again. Remember, the season for us goes through September 30th, and we are not done yet. Today, though, the focus will be temperatures at about our normal range, 105 in Phoenix, 102 in Levine, 103 in Surprise, and of course the wind story that we're going to see in the higher elevations as the winds are expected to get up to about 30 miles an hour today at about 4 o'clock in the mountains. For the next 7 days, what that wind will reveal, cooler than normal temperatures. Check this out, from the upper 70s to the lower 70s, and then we do have an opportunity for some showers to be moving in the higher elevations. Meantime, for the valley, we aren't looking for shower activity, but we are looking for highs to drop below normal tomorrow and hold through the early part of next week.
Our friends in Denver are expecting drier conditions today, but storm chances are on the rise later in the week. Chris Bianchi has the forecast details, and Katie LaSalle takes a deeper dive into Colorado's fall foliage forecast.
High temperatures back on Tuesday on the toasty side for us across Colorado. 80s, 90s, Eastern Plains, 60s and 70s across the high country. We did have a few late day storms that did bring down those high temperatures, especially for us. It's on the highest elevations, Leadville at 10,000 feet, 63 for a high. Eastern Plains, Burlington, though, had quite the storm. Hail covering the ground. He topped out at 88 degrees before that, but then those temperatures really plummeted there in Burlington behind that thunderstorm. Forecast highs for Wednesday. Once again, another warm day. Most of what you're looking at here on this map across the state of Colorado running 5-ish degrees. above average for the early to middle part of September. In the high country, closer to about 10 degrees above average as we're underneath the ridge of high pressure. That's going to spike those temperatures over the next little while. Now for your Wednesday, it's going to be a little bit drier compared to Tuesday with less coverage for storms, especially along and east of I-25. So the Denver area, Colorado Springs on east, a little drier compared to Tuesday, but we still will have 1 or 2 storms, especially across the southeast plains. Mountains, though, we get a push of monsoonal moisture, and that'll spike up some rain chances up across our southern and western mountains. That's thanks to this approaching trough low pressure that, again, will bring up those rain chances and also cool us down a little bit, especially as we get into your Friday and your Saturday. Rainfall amounts pretty decent for us across our southwestern mountains. That is good news. We are still contending with, in many cases, some severe drought conditions across our western and southern mountains. So some good news on the way. But of course, those outdoor plans could be pretty dicey over the next few days across the San Juans and the San Cristos. In particular, in Denver, our rain chances will be highest for Friday and Saturday as that trough of low pressure gets a bit closer. Temperatures cool down, not significantly, but we'll get into the upper 70s for us on Saturday.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle, and this Wednesday, September 10th, we are talking fall, y'all. We're starting to see some leaves change there. The gondola in Aspen, patchy right now, but we have updated our fall foliage map here across Colorado. So some earlier colors this year. We typically see our peaks in mid to late September, but we're already starting to see the leaves change in spots over northern Colorado. It's all unfortunately due to drought conditions out across the western slope and into Colorado's high country, so we may see some earlier peaks this year. Drought Monitor, most recent one showing extreme drought conditions over a big portion of the western slope, our northern and central mountains under that as well. This was from yesterday from Mark over Guanella Pass, one of the most amazing hikes and drives that you can do, in my opinion, here, but there are so many spots to check out. Our Chris Bianchi, meteorologist for our 9 News Weather Impact Team, has updated our fall foliage peak leaf peeping season map. Up over our northern mountains, Steamboat Springs, we will be starting to see those peak dates coming up this weekend. So if you are planning a trip to and from the mountains, we still have time. It looks like in a couple of weeks, we'll really start to see things pop up near Vail, over the I-70 drive, spots like Guanella Pass, and then continue to see the leaves really start to reach their peak from green to gold. The aspen's so magical this time of the year. You still have time. They'll be still changing as we get into the end of the month and early October into our San Juan mountain range, where we will start to see a little more moisture streaming in. Be prepared for Colorado's high country this weekend. If you are taking a trip, bring the rain jacket along. Be prepared for storms and some significant rainfall, especially over the southwestern corner of the state, where upwards of 2 inches could fall near Telluride from now through Saturday. So enjoy this fall season. It'll be 80s in Denver overall, a pretty warm weather pattern across the state.
And coming up after a quick break, we're headed to California with forecasts from Sacramento and San Diego. And later, today marks the climatological peak of hurricane season. We're talking all things hurricanes and why the Atlantic Basin has been pretty quiet over the last couple of weeks. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and now it's time to check out the weather in the Golden State. Sacramento's Monica Woods has a look at what's going on in northern and central California.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our regional headlines across northern and central California. And we've got a big change in our weather pattern, including cloudy skies and also the potential for showers. That's for the coast, the valley, the foothills, and for the Sierra. A chance of storms. So let's go ahead and break it down. This big pattern flip is due to our low pressure system that is slowly moving its way through northern California. With it, we're carving out that jet stream, that storm track all the way into southern California. Cooler air moving in, and some of us seeing some showers. Now we'll see on our Wednesday, most of that shower chance will be north of I-80 and then also extending straight down the Sierra. Best chance of that is actually going to be on the north end of the valley. Now, as we look into our Thursday forecast, you can see there's a little sliver through the valley. We get a little bit more stable air as that low continues to press its way off to the east. Counterclockwise circulation just kind of bringing in some of the risk of thunderstorms once again through parts of the valley, the coastal mountains, as well as the Sierra. So when does rain spring typically return in Sacramento. October 25th is when we pick up about 1/4 of an inch of rain or more. That's the average first day that we see that after a prolonged period of dry weather that typically ends right about March into April. Average first day of rain totaling over an inch. We have to wait until December 16th. Again, those are just averages, but that kind of puts some perspective into when we really start to see the rainy season begin. In October, we typically see less than an inch of rain for the entire month. It's not until we get into December, January, and February that we see the bulk of the precipitation. In fact, 50% of our rainfall that falls in the year will be in those 3 months. After that, we just don't see a whole lot. And that accounts to our water year. It starts up October 1st of one year, goes all the way into the next year, closes on September 30th. So we're almost there. Where do we stand right now? Well, the numbers don't look too terrible, but when you compare to the departure from normal, you can see most of us saw a little bit lower than average rainfall for the year. Not going to probably pick up much in the month of September, and so we'll close pretty close to that. A little bit of precipitation moving in here. You can see how that counterclockwise circulation of that low really is going to be favoring both the east and west side of the state. The valley, for the most part, has a lot of stability, and so we won't see as much in the way of accumulating rainfall. But nonetheless, we'll continue to track the clouds as well as the cooler weather and a slight chance of those showers. In terms of totals, this is where you really start to get a reality check. Only about 1/4 of an inch for Redding, Ukiah about 1/2 an inch, and South Lake Tahoe about 1/4 of an inch as well. All right, looking at the numbers here, highs only in the upper 50s for the Tahoe Basin, 70s down low. As we move our way southward, we're in the 60s for Yosemite. Even inland valley areas only hitting highs in the low 80s, about 10 to 15 degrees below average. 60s and 70s along the coast here. As we move inland, again, we'll be in the 80s, and the North Bay community will be seeing highs in the 70s. 60s for Half Moon Bay and Pacifica. Once we move inland, highs only in the 70s. Again, a pretty uniform temperature pattern here across northern and central California. Coast side, we're in the 60s and 70s, and we'll take that all the way inland. Lassen National Park only up to 54 degrees. So yes, we are talking snow level at about 10,000 feet. Not much of us are going to see any snow, but kind of nice to see where that snow line is going to be. Highs will be right around 80 throughout the Central Valley, and again, a slight chance of a passing shower. It really isn't going to accumulate to much. For the mountains, we'll keep that chance of showers through Friday and then dry mostly for the weekend, but another weather system on the move for Sunday brings us another chance for showers and another drop in those temperatures. We'll see them down to the mid-80s. Now, we will be getting back to near average temperatures by next Monday, and then warmer than average through much of next week.
Summer's not quite over for our friends in California just yet. Now, Southern California is going to feel a nice break from the summer heat, at least for the next couple of days, thanks to the return of onshore winds. Here's Vanessa Paz in San Diego with much more.
Happy Wednesday. We have made it halfway through the work week. This is from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Let's go ahead and start things off with a live look towards a very popular spot that was towards Fiesta Island, also near SeaWorld, where a lot of people go visiting San Diego. Taking a look at headlines, we had a spritz here or there earlier this morning, which was a drastic change in comparison to what we've been seeing. We've been having those muggy, uncomfortable, sticky conditions, and now with the return of onshore flow, we're looking at the return of the marine layer acting as our natural air conditioner. All right, here's a look at headlines as we kick off the second half of the work week. Fall-like weather on tap now through about Friday or so. A little bit of warming this weekend, but we'll still be trending below normal. We do have that increasing marine layer, as I mentioned, squeezing out some light drizzle and heavy mist, and with the return of onshore flow, we're also looking at the return of the sea breeze along the coast and inland valleys and windier conditions when it comes to the county's eastern half. So here's that ridge of high pressure. This area of low pressure, also associated with some cooler air, is going to continue to shift eastward, pretty much blanketing much of the west coast. In fact, it will be centered over the Pacific Northwest. So parts, including parts of Washington as well as Oregon, are really feeling the impact of that system. As we take a look at our forecast radar, we're looking at sunny skies, especially the farther from the coast that you are today, and then we'll have those clouds slowly start to increase later on tonight tonight around the 9-10 o'clock hour. Those clouds will be thick enough to potentially squeeze out another round of heavy mist and drizzle on Thursday morning, and it could be enough to saturate some of the freeways, wreaking havoc again for the morning commute. And then we'll have that marine layer. Those clouds retreat back to the coast, looking ahead to Thursday afternoon, making way for another sunny day. All right, taking a look at the winds, they are also going to see an uptick, anywhere between 15 to nearly 20-mile-per-hour gusts expected for both the coast as well as inland valleys. And the strongest winds will be targeting the county's eastern half, especially along those eastern slopes of the mountains as well as the desert areas. Isolated gusts could get anywhere between 40 to 50 miles per hour. We'll have another round of strong winds looking ahead to Thursday night. So that's going to be sort of the pattern with the return of this cooler weather. Speaking of cooler weather, today's highs are going to be trending anywhere between 5 to nearly 10 degrees below normal. We should typically be in the high 70s, and we're looking at highs in the low 70s for spots like downtown San Diego. That's about a 5-degree difference or so. And typically we should be in the high 80s for spots like Ramona, our interior parts of the county. And we're looking at highs this afternoon in the high 70s. That's about 10 degrees shy of our 30-year normal. It's also cooling off when it comes to those sundown hours. Overnight lows are fairly chilly, especially for the inland communities. I mean, we're talking low 50s, high 50s to low 60s for those neighborhoods hugging the 15 corridor. Meanwhile, the coast will even get in on some of that cooling as well, dropping down to the low 60s overnight for spots like Oceanside as well as Carlsbad. Here's what's on tap over the next 7 days. Looks like the weather will cooperate with whatever you have planned outside this weekend. For the coastal spots, we will be hovering in the low 70s. So we'll be quite cool, especially when we talk about the morning and evening hours. If you're hanging out along the coast, I would dress in layers. For the inland valleys, we have one day of the 70s tomorrow, and then we're back into the low 80s. So a little bit of a climb in those daytime highs as we inch towards the weekend, but again, we'll still be a lot cooler than average for this time of year. The mountain areas will see highs in the low 70s, and then we'll jump up about 5 to 10 degrees or so by the time we hit Sunday and Monday. For the deserts, we're officially out of that triple-digit heat, back into the low 90s. Starting tomorrow, we'll be hitting highs in the low 90s, and that will last all the way through about Saturday.
Coming up next on Weather Out West, we're taking you to the Pacific Northwest, and we're still in the middle of hurricane season. Later on, we explain terms you need to know and how hurricanes form. It's going to be a pretty pleasant late summer day in Western Washington and the Pacific Northwest. In general, Seattle's Rich Marriott has all the details.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott. Happy Wednesday. Things are quieting down after an active day in the Cascades and near the Cascades yesterday, as that low that's passing the southwest brought a lot of showers and thunderstorms into the Cascades with a lot of lightning strikes. That low continues to move towards the east, but it's moved far enough away now that that counterclockwise path around it is keeping the storms fairly far away from us. You see, it was pretty active down there near the Oregon border overnight. This is the last 12 hours of radar and lightning strikes. It was very busy, but as it tried to move west towards the Cascades, pretty much dissipated, and that's not going to be much of a factor as that continues to track up towards Idaho. The good news with that, too, is the fact without the thunderstorms, we're not going to see those lightning strikes that were giving us problems with some new fire starts. Looking out right now from the Port Angeles Tower Cam, you can see we've got things trying to clear out. We had a lot of gray skies this morning, but it looks like the sun is going to win out just about everywhere as we head towards later this morning, this afternoon. See the clouds and maybe a little light fog out in the distance there from Granite Falls. No sign of Mount Pilchuck this morning, and the sun has been trying to break out around the Seattle area. It may take a few more hours, but it eventually is going to win in that battle. And out towards the coast, not going to be quite a successful clearing out there. You should see some sun breaks this afternoon, but overall it's going to stay cloudy and maybe a little bit of light fog out there along the ocean beaches today. Checking that countdown to fall, just 12 days away until it arrives. It's starting to get that real feel. I was out working in the yard earlier this week, and it just felt like fall is getting close. So just 12 days, a week from next Monday, it'll be officially fall. Checking our First Alert 7-day forecast. Not looking too bad here as we head towards the last days of summer. We are going to see the most important thing is fewer mountain showers in the afternoon today and even fewer tomorrow. So that means less lightning strikes, less worries about fires. That's really good news. And then looks like we might get a couple of days for Friday and Saturday without any thunderstorms at all in the mountains before we see some showers moving in on Sunday. Look at the satellite image. You can see that low swirling around here in Northern California near the Oregon border. That was sitting just off the coast yesterday, and just this much motion has moved it far enough away that that counterclockwise rotation is not getting those shower bands up into the Cascades today. So a definite improvement there. We do have high pressure building off the coast, though, and that is going to be pushing in as we head towards later tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, giving us some dry and sunny weather for those 2 days before a little weak front's going to be moving in as we head towards Sunday, and that could give us some increasing showers during the day to wrap up the weekend. Checking the fire weather forecast, things actually have improved a little bit. What we're looking at is some lower temperatures compared to what we were having in the last week or 10 days ago. We're looking for higher humidities as well, both of which help out firefighters in dealing with them. And most importantly, probably is fewer thunderstorms and lightning strikes here for the next several days, which means there's less chance of seeing new fire starts because we still have very dry fuels out there. We're not looking at anything right now, even the showers on Sunday, not really enough to wet those up enough that we will get out of the fire season at this point anyway. Over the next 2 weeks with the computer models normally run out to not seeing it into the fire season quite yet, but it should be getting here pretty soon. Checking the computer model, you can see we do develop a few showers in the afternoon today there up in the Cascades, but not nearly as many as we saw yesterday, mostly in the central and south Cascades. And then we run that through another 24 hours to tomorrow afternoon. Again, seeing just a couple showers popping up, mainly east of the Cascade crest up there, but definitely seeing those wind down, which is pretty nice after a very active couple of days overall. Take a look at the smoke models. We'll put those into motion. We still have light smoke haze at the surface here in western Washington, and that's going to probably stick with us today. And then as we head towards later tomorrow, that starts to get pushed out of the area. But overall, still in really good shape in terms of our air quality. You can see we're expecting good air quality pretty much for all the stations in western Washington today, and pretty much the same again tomorrow. So you see it in the air, but it really is not going to affect the air that you're breathing that much, which is great. Looking at our forecast then today, basically partly to mostly sunny this afternoon. We'll see a few showers up in the mountains, and then even fewer tomorrow afternoon, low to mid 70s both days. For Friday and Saturday, it should be partly to mostly sunny with temperatures in the low to mid 70s. Sunday, we will see increasing showers during the day. It could turn kind of wet on Sunday afternoon. Then on Monday, just a few leftover showers. As we head towards midweek, we'll be back to sunshine and high temperatures all the way through, staying mostly in the low to mid 70s.
Now let's head to Portland, where Ron Hill is tracking the forecast, including the risk for some thunderstorms over portions of central and eastern Oregon. Plus, he has the details on the ongoing wildfires.
On a Wednesday, welcome to Portland. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. We have a day that started off cloudy. We've had a couple reports of a little bit of mist or drizzle falling from the low cloud deck. A deck that should gradually show some partial clearing, meaning we do believe we'll see sunshine develop as the day goes along. Our overall weather pattern, an upper level low that yesterday was right on top of Medford. Today it's scooted just a little bit off to the east in kind of south central Oregon. It is producing more scattered showers, and we expect a pretty good batch of thunderstorms again today developing in central and eastern areas, and I'll show you the Futurecast model coming up here shortly. None of this is expected to get over the Cascades into the Willamette Valley or the coast. Remember, the low itself scooted a little bit more to the east. So our forecast, Salem, Portland, Vancouver, we are dry. Quick look at the Oregon active large wildfire map. Quite a few. We've got something like 27 large wildfires, just under 30 anyway, Oregon and Washington combo. This shows you Oregon. I circled the immigrant fire. That's the big one. Over 32,000 acres burned, still very little containment, still expected to burn in timber in the Cascades all the way until rains put out the fire at some point in November. But what caught my eye was, if you have plans this upcoming weekend to go over into the main resort areas of Central Oregon, the Bend, Sisters, Sun River area, there's really no fires burning in this area, so that's good news. And then for travel along 84, these are fairly small grass fires I don't think will present a big issue. And actually, air quality is the best it's been overall in weeks. We've had some rain with the thunderstorms, and that helps. The green is good reports from Oregon DEQ, and the yellows are moderate, and it's mostly here in Oregon just good air quality. So hip, hip, hooray on that. All right, now to some of our cameras on this Wednesday. Again, a marine push, low cloud cover expected to break up somewhat, including at the beach. This is our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. Above the low clouds, you get a little bit of blue, and then we also have some cloudiness kind of kissing the top of the summit of Mount Hood. It's been calm up there, no wind. Early numbers have been at about 50 to 51 degrees. This is cool. We're looking at the Columbia River, and see all the smaller vessels, see them kind of speckled in here. All fishermen, fisherwomen out there trying to catch some salmon primarily in the Columbia. This is from our live camera in Vancouver, the springs of the waterfront, looking out toward the west, and you see several big ships out there, big tanker as well. So busy day on the Columbia River. All right, we're zoomed in tight on our Salem Sky camera, where they continue to do some work on the exterior of the building. Okay, here's that thunderstorm track with our Futurecast, 1 o'clock this afternoon. You can see the green and the bright colors. Here's 5 o'clock. Pretty good action around Bachelor Bend up toward Mount Jefferson. Everything for the most part staying on the east side of the Cascades. And then more storms expected out in eastern Oregon as well. There's a pretty good cluster of potential lightning south of Baker City, or at least in Baker County. Again, everything staying east of the Cascades. And this redevelops on Thursday in the morning, Thursday later in the day. So you folks east of the Cascades, at least a couple days of more scattered thunderstorm activity. 70s to about 80 here in the Willamette Valley today, depending on how much sun we develop, how soon we get it. Yesterday, Portland did hit 80, and we could be that warm again today if we get enough sunshine. Inland temperatures mainly in the 70s, even in areas with enough thunderstorm activity out east like Bend. This is showing 66 at 6 p.m. today. All right, Portland will go becoming partly cloudy, 80, 70s the next couple days, 83 Saturday. The next rain chance shows up as a scattered shower threat on Sunday. That's a weak system, and then a dry forecast to start next week.
Cheetah Craft will have today's national forecast when we come right back. We've covered what's happening out west. Now it's time to see what is going on out east. Here's Cheetah Craft with the forecast.
Hey there, I'm meteorologist Cheetah Craft. Well, wow, coast to coast, we have some very big changes weather-wise. Take a look, Phoenix today, so expecting a high of 105, so still really, really hot across portions of the desert Southwest. San Diego, 74, Seattle at 72. So really depends on what spot you pick on the map. Now notice across portions of Texas, 92, Dallas, Fort Worth, 94 in Houston. And then as we head a little bit closer into the northeast, East Coast region, notice DC at 72 under cloudy skies. Rain is expected potentially over the next 24 hours. And then southeast, Atlanta from 85 to New Orleans, 91. And then Tampa, portions of Florida today going to tap into some thunderstorms. Notice temperatures in Tampa around 88. So again, coast to coast, we do have some active weather. Let me dive into it. So across portions of the northeast, an abundance of sunshine from New York City into Boston, lots of sunshine, a mixture of some 70s and 80s. But then notice if you work a little further south from Richmond into Washington, that's where we could say maybe a few showers, even as we get into the day tomorrow. Across Florida, still working with a boundary that's trying to push offshore. That's what's prompting some of those thunderstorms, both today and tomorrow. And then from New Orleans, 92 and sunny skies. Jackson, 92 and under sunny skies. So an abundance of sunshine for portions of the southeast. Across Texas, high pressure is building in. Now we've had a big break from the relative humidity. That's going to start to change for portions of the southeast. 94 in Houston. Take a look at some of those clouds building in. From Dallas, 94 under sunny skies. Oklahoma City, 94 and under an abundance of sunshine. Closer into the Great Lakes, notice Green Bay at 74, partly to mostly cloudy. Chicago, not bad. Partly cloudy under 81 later today. Rapid City at 89. Hold on to that, and once you start getting those fronts, you know it's going to get a lot colder than that. Now once we get into the desert Southwest, yeah, you can see from Phoenix, now getting a big break from Flagstaff. Vegas still expecting a high of 92 under sunny skies. Salt Lake there with lots of sunshine. Northwest, we've got this little low that's working across the area, and that is going to provide additional rain. So notice even Boise with temperatures in the mid-70s and the chance for some of those on and off showers. Big picture though, taking you into the 18th of the month, from September 18th through the 24th. Notice we're trending hotter for the end of the month, so slightly above average temperatures, but potentially drier in the southeast, wetter in the desert southwest. It is the monsoonal season across portions of the desert southwest, so that's why it can be very active. And Tropical Storm Kiko is moving away from Hawaii, still really picking up some elevated surf there and bringing some tropical downpours. No tropical activity across the Atlantic. For now, I'm meteorologist Cheetah Craft.
And speaking of hurricanes, hurricane season has been rather quiet for the Atlantic as a whole, but not so much for the Pacific. We take a deeper dive as to why and what to look out for the remainder of the season. We're still in the heart of hurricane season. There may be a lot of words you only hear during this time. Words like tropical wave, hurricane, invest, and you might know what some of them mean, but others not so much. So we're going to give you the definitions as well as explain how hurricanes form.
Tropical wave is one term you hear frequently before a storm forms. A tropical wave is an unorganized area of storms traveling west out of Africa. These are important to follow because around 85% of major hurricanes begin as tropical waves. Another common term you hear, invest. Invest stands for investigative area. When a tropical wave becomes more organized, the National Hurricane Center will designate the area of disturbed weather invest. Each invest is given a number from 90 to 99. For example, invest 90L. The L tells us the system is in the Atlantic. This also allows the NHC to run ensemble models or spaghetti models on these systems. You might also hear the term cyclone during hurricane season. A cyclone is a blanket term for any area of low pressure that has a closed circulation. Hurricanes, tropical storms, and tropical depressions are all cyclones because they are closed areas of low pressure.
There are a few key elements that need to happen for a hurricane to form. One of the most important is warm ocean water. Ocean temperatures need to be at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit for a hurricane to form. The East Coast's warm waters are key in that formation. Atlantic temperatures can warm all the way up to low 90s for parts of Florida, ideal fuel for hurricanes. The Pacific Ocean is a little different. United States West Coast waters are simply too cold. Even by the end of the summer, when temperatures are warmest, Southern California ocean temperatures peak between 68 to 72 degrees. Northern California ocean temperatures only get to about 55 to 70 degrees. That's why Eastern Pacific hurricanes solely form from Mexico into Central America. Water temperatures off central Mexico's coast can hit the 80s as early as May and June, hitting their peak temperature in August, September, and October. The Atlantic hurricane season starts June 1st, peaks September 10th, then officially ends November 30th. The Eastern Pacific hurricane season starts a little earlier, running from May 15th to November 30th. But the first named storm typically doesn't form until mid-June, and tropical cyclones can still happen outside of these dates. This map shows the tracks of early September hurricanes. You can see the Pacific storms start far south and jet to the west and northwest, dying off around U.S. waters. The Atlantic storms move the opposite direction, generally jetting off to the northeast. These patterns are thanks to trade winds. Pacific trade winds between the equator and latitude 30 degrees north pull storms in that westerly direction. And in the Atlantic, that pulls the storms from the coast of Africa toward the United States, then eventually ricocheting to the northeast at those higher latitudes.
And today is the climatological peak of hurricane season, September 10th, in the Atlantic Basin. And around 60% of tropical activity does take place after the peak. But why is it quiet right now if this is the peak? Well, we have several reasons. It's been pretty dry and pretty stable in the tropical Atlantic thanks to several things. We've had Saharan dust coming off Africa, increased wind shear, which wind shear hurts hurricanes, it rips them apart. Also, not as many tropical waves have moved off the coast of Africa. And the National Hurricane Center is not expecting any tropical development over the next 7 days or so. And even though long-range modeling shows the potential for conditions to become more favorable for tropical development by the end of September and October. Meanwhile, as we know, it's been very active in the eastern Pacific, where they've had 12 named storms so far with 7 hurricanes, and NOAA's forecast actually calls for 12 to 18 named storms, with 5 to 10 of them being hurricanes. That's the Pacific. So we'll see how the rest of the season unfolds in the Atlantic and the Pacific. That does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and we want to thank you so much for being with us today. And we hope you can join us again tomorrow for our next Weather Out West.